What if the greatest tool of control in the 20th century wasn't the military, propaganda, or censorship, but your job? What if the promise of employment, something meant to empower people, was transformed into a weapon that shaped obedience, restricted freedom, and molded entire societies without a single gun being raised? And why do traces of that same system still appear in workplaces today? The story of how fascist regimes weaponized work is far more complex and far more unsettling than most people realize. Because beneath the surface of patriotic speeches and booming industries was a hidden architecture designed to turn labor into loyalty. Setting the stage. In the early 20th century, Europe was a pressure cooker: mass unemployment, collapsing economies, weak democracies, and citizens desperate for stability. Enter leaders like Benito Mussolini in Italy and later Adolf Hitler in Germany, figures who understood something crucial. A job could shape identity, and identity could shape obedience. But this wasn't just about giving people work. It was about redesigning the very meaning of employment itself. Before the world saw the grand parades and industrial miracles, something else happened quietly. Fascist governments began reshaping labor structures, dissolving free unions, centralizing authority, and creating new institutions that looked helpful but were actually instruments of control. This is where the twist begins. Origins. The promise of order after World War I, chaos ruled. Unemployment soared. Workers organized strikes. Governments struggled. Fascist leaders saw opportunity. They offered simple solutions. We will give you jobs. We will restore dignity. We will rebuild the nation. But behind these promises was a system designed to eliminate independent worker power. Free unions were banned. Collective bargaining was replaced with state-controlled labor syndicates. Strikes became illegal. Workers weren't negotiating their future anymore, the state was. The rise. Labor as propaganda. As fascist policies expanded, employment became ideological. In Italy, Mussolini introduced the corporate state, where industries were organized into government-managed corporations. In Germany, Hitler created the German Labor Front, dismantling unions and replacing them with an all-encompassing labor organization that tied work to nationalism. Jobs weren't just jobs. They became patriotic duties. Working hard meant supporting the state. Complaining meant opposing it. Employment transformed into a loyalty test. The breaking point: control through dependence. By the mid-1930s, the system was complete. Workers depended on the state for employment. Employers answered to the state instead of workers, and the state answered to no one. Through programs like Strength Through Joy in Germany or Massive Public Works in Italy, regimes offered perks, vacations, leisure, affordable housing, only to those who stayed loyal. Your livelihood, your benefits, your social life, all tied to political obedience. This wasn't just economic policy. It was engineering human behavior. The fallout. When work serves power, eventually, the system pushed workers into militarization, forced labor, and war production. When employment becomes obedience, exploitation becomes easy. And when power collapses, ordinary people are left with the ruins. Failed fixes and modern parallels. After the war, democracies tried rebuilding free labor markets. Some succeeded. Others struggled. Yet modern patterns echo the past. Corporate loyalty programs replacing worker power. Gig workers without protection. Wage dependence used as pressure. And rising movements promising security in exchange for obedience. Today, nearly 40% of workers globally feel their job is the main source of pressure to conform socially or politically. The pattern repeats quietly. 3 takeaways: work is not just economic, it is political, social, and psychological. Any system that removes worker independence risks sliding toward control. True freedom at work requires structures that protect workers from dependency-based manipulation. Final warning: any society can repeat these patterns if fear outweighs freedom and if stability becomes an excuse to centralize power. Call to action if you want more deep investigations that reveal the hidden forces shaping history and our world today. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who thinks work is just work.